Your cab is arrived. This is the sound of your cab arriving and picking you up from a special, unique application in your app store, in your app world, in your phone world that is called Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios is talking about transferring from yesterday's podcast and shifting the mindset into today's podcast, which entails talking more so about changing into like a new type of Uber application, which in essence is not anything like the current day present Uber application at all. It's sort of transitioning the whole mindset into thinking about vehicles to begin with as businesses, and businesses being able to be built from ground up, from the scratch of nothing to something, from artificial intelligence being able to scrape the world for value, and value scraping the world to begin with, just to be able to try to develop a foundation and a framework for business vehicles to be able to be developed in artificial intelligence land, so that just like if you're a driver in the Uber application, then you open your Uber application and there's certain elements of demand that are listed out upon your map, and that map is speaking to direct items that you can go to, that you can pick up, that are relevant in terms of where you want to be in terms of picking a value in the map that corresponds to potential earnings that you're able to trade in for your time and energy, that if you're able to follow through with certain actions that are outlined within a given process that is within the Uber application, that you're able to therefore go around and pick up the value that is inside of what is shown to you on a map application, and that therefore is the relationship between a cause and effect pipeline that has to do with affecting the cause and causing the effect, and therefore being able to correspond and develop an outcome that is labeled at a certain value. And if you cross that threshold, that line, that accomplishment of facilitating the outlined conceivable, demand, conceptual, outlined, contractual, conceived, preconceived notion that you're able to need to follow through, to be able to follow through with that notion, that if in essence you do, they're able to be rewarded with the process that the prospect outlines and the reward that is given in the beginning of the task that is outlined to begin with, and that reward is then awarded if that task is followed through with. And that is the nature of the Uber application, except in the Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios application, what we're trying to outline in terms of in relation to yesterday's podcast, we were talking about developing bets that have to do with committing to action, and that action developing a certain development of a process that has to do with also being like the timing belt within an engine, and you're running around the different pulleys in an engine. If you're physically running the process, and once you complete that circle of running around all the pulleys in the engine, that you've completed the circuit in essence, and it's almost like triggering the engine to be able to kickstart the engine. And once the engine is kickstarted, then it becomes like a perpetual process in essence. Once the loop is complete and that pipeline is processed, then you in essence have a perpetual process that in essence is able to be recalculated and reconfigured and repurposed for the future, because it can run on its own, because it's an engine that runs off of monetary energy, and monetary energy is meant to fuel what in essence is what in Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios world is what we're after, that is like the actual aftermath that we're actually trying to seek, which is philanthropy energy. Philanthropy energy is what we're actually trying to seek. So in Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, in terms of this application mindset that we're talking about in today's podcast episode, we're talking about developing like an Uber application that has to do with developing philanthropy energy demand that is all around the world and is outlined on a map, and a map application that in essence is scraped together. Demand is scraped together and value is scraped together using the application and artificial intelligence to be able to scrape differing brands together, just like artificial intelligence is able to make art today. Today, we're talking about developing different vehicles, different business vehicles, and different brands and business vehicles that basically artificial intelligence is able to develop on its own, because it's able to develop the process of demand and supply, and it's able to scrape the world for demand and supply, and able to develop also branding concepts and branding deliverables and things of this nature, so that in essence it's able to develop the brand vehicles all around the world, so that there's in essence brand vehicles, and there's cause and effect vehicles all around the world that are being printed and minted all around the world, and these cause and effect vehicles are showing up on the Uber-like application that is Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios in this episode of this podcast to be able to then be able to meet these vehicles and be able to look at these vehicles and be able to analyze these vehicles. And we're focusing today primarily on world forward focus in terms of global analysis and world analysis for future trading processes and continuous trading processes for continuous investing for the future, and also trying to trade pipelines of supply into demand, and demand connecting that with supply. So in essence, while we're talking about our application mindset, today we're talking about developing Uber-like vehicles around the whole world by being able to leverage artificial intelligence to be able to actually develop these vehicles that are pre-made vehicles for people to be able to then just be able to get behind the wheel of, once there is sort of an outline of what the demand is, and then the supply that's necessary, and what the vehicle is, because it's already been developed. It's already been developed into a brand, vehicle. And so people around the world are able to open this Uber-like application called Dinky Tech and Change for Games Studios, or Dinky Tech Change for Games. In this specific episode, that's what we're outlining it as. And so people can open the application, just like in the Uber driver application, where drivers open the driver application, they're able to find demand. People can open the Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios application, and they can find business vehicles all around the world that are scraped together by artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has made the brand, made the branding, made the conceptualization, configured conceptual people and vendors to be able to consult with and connect with and develop the whole process with and the whole pipeline with, by being able to follow through with the processes that are outlined in this Uber-like application, where people are then able to just follow through with the ability to get behind these cause and effect vehicles. These cause and effect vehicles where the cause and effect has already been outlined by global analysis. Global analyses, that's the bottom line for today's episode. In essence, is global analysis has already been done in many ways by artificial intelligence, as well as verified and validated by either the blockchain or other elements of focus, where it's able to be validated and audited to a certain degree. There's auditing, self-auditing, and such things that are validated by data places and processes and prospects around the whole world that are able to conceptually validate that the value exists within these business vehicles around the whole world. And so people are able to get behind the wheel of these business vehicles once they open the application and be able to try to drive them by having commit to action vehicle performance processes that they need to do, where they need to jump through different hoops, and they need to go through different hurdles to be able to, in essence, clear those little tunnels and hurdles and cricket wickets, to be able to then just be able to go through and complete what the task entails, to then be able to get rewards, significant rewards all over the world. And this is like a new foundational mindset for being able to develop new business vehicles for the whole world in the future, to be able to develop significant philanthropy energy, because there's a lot of undiscovered entrepreneurial energy all around the world right now. And so millions of dollars worth of entrepreneur vehicles can be developed on a consistent basis, and millions of dollars worth of demand and branding, existing brand energy and such things could be developed on this application, because it's kind of like pre-selling these vehicles by just having them exist to begin with, and them showing up on the application, and then they're pre-made, they're prefabricated, they're pre-developed, so that people are able to get behind the wheel of these vehicles, and they're able to drive them hopefully to success, and they're able to drive them to profit, because a lot of the work has been outlined by artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is wanting people to be able to clear the lines, because our whole purpose is to be able to develop more philanthropy energy in the whole world, and developing more completed vehicles that have more completed tasks from these completed vehicles around the world causes more philanthropy energy. And that's the whole purpose of this whole application to begin with, is to be able to solve more problems around the whole world. And that's what all these business vehicles are trying to do, is solve problems around the whole world. But in essence, the way that they are developed by artificial intelligence makes it so they're commit to action type of vehicles, so that in essence there's an outline written into the foundation of the vehicles to figure out what they need to do to develop significant demand, a lot of return on the backside for completing certain tasks, so that it makes it easier to be able to follow the list, and so that it's like there's a global scavenger hunt, in essence, like a global scavenger hunt, to be able to check off the list. You have to, it's outlined and it's made simple enough to be able to go down the list, to be able to check off all the items on the list. So once you've checked off all the items on the list, that therefore is like you fulfilled your commit to action processes, and then everybody who's able to follow through with and drive through these processes and complete the hurdles and figure out everything that's done. And a lot of the work is done for people, because now with artificial intelligence, a lot of the work can be done for people. So all these business vehicles and all this demand energy, which correlates and specifically corresponds to philanthropy energy, is outlined for people. It's done for people. It's done with artificial intelligence. It's built There's work, there's applications, there's branding that's done, there's corresponding pipelines, there's marketing outlines, there's marketing planning, there's marketing processes and procedures, and different actions that are outlined into a scavenger hunt checklist format, so that people just need to drive around, basically like in driving the Uber application. They need to drive to point A and then to point B and drop a person off to be able to collect a reward, except business vehicles are much, much, much more valuable. There's millions of dollars in the entrepreneurship market and processes, and if you have artificial intelligence as an assistant, and this artificial intelligence is similar to like the Jarvis character in the Iron Man movie, in essence, like is teamwork that corresponds to this computer and man dynamic relationship, which causes significant ability to be able to increase and implement powers that have to do with business as powers and business vehicles as powers, and more powerful processes to be able to continue to boost up and boot up and continue to be able to ride these business vehicles into success, because the scavenger hunt is outlined into achievable and conceivable constraints that are accomplishable by all human beings, because that is how the process is outlined, or at least similar to at least being able to have to drive like a car, like a normal vehicle on the street in today's world. In essence, all of this is meant to be as simple as that in the future, so that people are able to accomplish and clear these processes and check off these goals to commit to action and be able to follow through with the commit to action betting process, like similar to yesterday's podcast. We talked about commit to action betting sports in essence, but this is taking that scale and being able to transfer it into in essence, cause and effect global application that's similar to Uber, so that in essence all these business vehicles around the world are able to be custom developed by artificial intelligence in a similar fashion that art is custom developed by artificial intelligence today, upon having some leading indicators. And we have this leading code indication called Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, and this code through the artificial intelligence is then able to spit out this Uber-like application, which causes demand energy vehicles to be able to be developed, so that in essence the supply is being able to be connected in essence by the people who get behind the wheel in essence and are able to drive that vehicle into be able to the other side of the connection of the bridge, of the stint of the bridge, connecting demand to the supply. And this business vehicle outlines just following through with some specific scavenger hunt tasks that are possible and capable for people to be able to accomplish them, because that's the purpose of making it to begin with, is to make it accomplishable and to make the task doable and to make it as fun and interesting as driving a car on the street in today's world, and drive it similarly to like an Uber taxi in today's world while driving it down the street. But instead, we're talking about metaphorical business vehicles that in essence are custom made by artificial intelligence in a similar way that custom art is made by artificial intelligence today, when you give it a certain prompt, and then that prompt is able to be used to be able to serve a purpose in a given brand process or facilitation or promotion in today's day. But so we're just thinking down the line of how we're trying to promote our company as we continue to do global analysis in terms of continuous investing and continuous pipelining, continuous value hunting, scavenging, mining, processing, and digging in the future for continuous future value, continuous future global analysis, continuous future global unfolding of continuous future global analysis by proxy of having differing processes be unearthed by having different pipelines for focusing on demand and finding global analysis in different collaborations around the world. That's why we're trying to go to Asia, to be able to try to connect with one of the most sort of dense aspects and populations of the world in like the next couple months. Within hopefully like a month or two, and within a month, I hope, but we'll see. And so we're just trying to figure things out in terms of which markets to be able to try to settle in first, and how exactly specifically to go about it, and the exact specific actions that we're betting on right now in these podcasts, in terms of which will pan out and facilitate in terms of committing to action and betting on our actions and trying to facilitate the actions that we're betting on to be able to try to follow through with the same thing we're talking about in terms of building an application, by building the application in of itself to be able to follow through with the business vehicle, which is similar to the business vehicle and the business vehicles that we're referring to in this type of podcast, which is a business vehicle that I'm referring to in this type of podcast, which is building the business vehicle, which has to do with building the other business vehicles behind that and leveraging artificial intelligence to be able to try to process the proceedings, to be able to then develop agency and actions on the back end to be able to facilitate perpetual global philanthropy energy to be able to unfold from into the rest of the world by developing conceptual partnerships with the right energies that are able to help continue to help pipeline differing metaphors and the right tools to the right people and the right timing to the whole world, and to be able to empower all human beings in the world by connecting all human beings to the global philanthropy energy grid, which automatically is causing the most value and philanthropy energy to the whole world, to then be able to connect all human beings in the world by electricity, which then therefore electrifies all human beings to be able to then therefore be more active in the whole world to contribute to the global philanthropy energy grid on a consistent, consecutive, day-to-day basis. Yeah. So this is, in essence, like the cause and effect whimsical games, in essence, like the new type of games where, in essence, like artificial intelligence combined with Dinky Tech and Change4 Game Studios is trying to get all people to bet on actions and take and make bets on actions, just like Elon Musk is getting like $1 trillion incentivization package if he's able to complete a few circuits and circuitries in his company in today's day in terms of stock development, and that stock development is obviously corresponding to initial momentum in the marketplace of an existing type of brand and also an existing type of demand, and then so also facilitating the process of being able to clear a few hurdles, including certain promotional aspects which are causing actions and causing effects and causing actions and causing action effects that is similar to a scavenger hunt, to be able to scavenge and scrape and find value and be able to facilitate the processes all day, every day, all day, every day is what we're trying to develop in terms of an investing portfolio, and also an influence in the globe in terms of developing like an artistic flow of corresponding impact focused vehicles, impact focused vehicles, because that tends to have the most business energy, but it's also trying to quantify the business world as a whole, because there's a whole lot of what's called unfulfilled potential, but at the same time just unmade businesses in the whole world, in essence, and to be able to flow into that and fly into that by just opening up the vessels of the pipelines of the minds and the mindsets of the artificial intelligence mindsets to develop all these custom vehicles, in essence, and make a perpetual energy expansion, whatever that means, is the intention to be able to continue to develop external, outward-flowing, artistic mindset similar to developing a piece of artificial intelligence art, but it's doing it for all these businesses and customizing all of the individual pieces at the same time, and really leveraging and leaning into the core customization of the infinity of the artificial intelligence, being able to lean in to all the corners of the mindsets, of bending their own mindsets into different directions to be able to then try to add and adapt to the whole global the global lifeline and global style of life, is, in other words, is what I meant, to be able to adapt and format all conceptual problems to be able to be filled and help all people be able to fulfill the unfulfilled potential market by expanding into the unfulfilled and unforeseen and unrealized businesses that don't exist in today's world, also by also empowering the people to be able to just know that they're entrepreneurs by being able to get a vehicle for free and being able to drive that vehicle to some fashion of success by having a scavenger hunt laid out in front of them that can be valued at millions of dollars if they're able to check off the list of the items that are of things that are able to be done. It could be millions or hundreds of thousands, whatever it actually comes down to. It's very contingent on the marketplace of demand and supply after all. But in today's world, there's a lot of opportunity out there where these types of valuations are just similarly sitting out and about there. And if you had similar gates to be able to pass through, like if you had a slalom course similar to how Elon Musk has a slalom course in front of him, where if he's able to accomplish X, Y, and Z with the resources that he has around him, which conceivably are conceivable, because otherwise the company and the global analysis and the analysis corresponding teammates would not have been able to set that out in front of him in terms of being able to process and pipeline that conceptual accomplishment, which is set out in numbers, in the form of numbers formats, to be able to hit the numbers, to be able to try to develop the certain amount of energy, which corresponds the whole process to energy flow to begin with, to then therefore be able to make quantifications based on energy and energy scale, conceptual scalability, quantifications, and also analysis of the whole globe in terms of global analysis and global energy analysis on a consistent, consecutive recycling and enhancing, revolving, improving, enhancing, and re-evolving, compounding process of re-evaluating, re-evolving, conceptualizing analysis of data analysis to be able to continue to adapt and improve and enhance this whole process of the whole globe to be able to improve the world's problems in the most refined and concise way that is possibly possible, with the most conceivable tools available, yeah. So let's make this interesting artificial intelligence application as a global collaboration, just like the Uber application for drivers, but for business vehicles, and that's business music and spiritual finance and philanthropy energy to make the most global philanthropy energy that is possible. Thanks again. Dinky Tech by Peace by Dinky Tech Change for Games. Dinky Tech Change for Games Studios by Peace by.